you guys doing today? I'm Andy. I'm doing very well, thanks. And it's a beautiful sunny day in West Wales, United Kingdom here, but it's also a bit cold, so I've got my tatty coat on. In this video, we are going to review this amazing deck, the Lost Tarot of Nostradamus. It's not exactly a new deck. It's been out for quite a while. It's quite a low price on Amazon at the moment, so that might be worth taking a look at. I'll see if I can find a link to put in the description, actually. And it's a very, very interesting deck. So we'll do a review, and then we will do a 5-card pick-a-card spread for you as we get through it. Okay, let's get stuck in. And here it is on the table. We'll take an in-depth look, actually. We'll go right through it. It's an amazing deck, actually. It's very interesting. It relates very strongly to the traditional tarot, but the suits have different names, and the major arcana is configured a little bit differently. The idea is that it's bringing together the sort of world of Nostradamus, the kind of art that Nostradamus would have known in his day, with the kind of way he made predictions and with his own actual predictions as well. So it's got this very ancient look about it and a very authentic feel, actually. I've enjoyed working with it. It is all a little bit different. There's a 160-page illustrated book with it and 78 cards, and they're all full-colour cards, you know, very striking when you look at them. And in that 160-page book, there's a lot of guidance, and there's also, you know, there are some specific spreads for the deck, which are really interesting. I'm very grateful to Adrienne AQ, who's a subscriber on the channel here, for sending me this deck, actually. She did me a very intriguing reading with it, which was very good, and that made me want to explore it in some more depth. Taking the lid off and looking inside, we've got this, as I say, 160-page booklet here. I think booklet is actually underselling it a bit. It's really quite detailed. So John Matthews, I'm sorry, I didn't quite see the S there, and Will Kingan are the authors and illustrators of it. And we've got, of course, a picture of Nostradamus, the man himself. So then underneath the book, we've got these two decks. It's one deck, but they divided it into two to make it fit the box, and they're a good size card, you know. It's good heavy card stock as well, so they're nice and easy to work with. Hope I don't screw the focusing up here, but there's my hand by comparison. So they are quite easy to work with and to use. I've taken some cards out of the box and I've kind of laid them out so you can have a look here. If we come down here, you can see this is a real nice card back image here. Very medieval, actually, and very in keeping with the whole sort of feeling of Nostradamus and everything about him. I've pulled out 3 cards from the major arcana just to show them. We've got the Hermit here, which is a traditional representation of the Hermit, really. He's appearing as a monk and he's got his rosary. And, you know, the usual kind of images, these images are at the top of all the major arcana cards. Here we've got Fortune's Wheel, which is essentially the Wheel of Fortune. Very medieval, but everything you would actually, you know, expect to see in a Wheel of Fortune card just kind of got up to be very Nostradamus-like. Here we've got the Completed World. This is number 21, so it is actually the World card. Let me just bring it into frame a bit better for you there. That is actually the World card, number 21, and it's a cup, which is quite an unusual representation for the world, really. But when you think about it, it makes a great deal of sense, because although number 21 is like the end of the major arcana journey, the end of a journey always leads to the start of a new journey, and when you get the World card, you can more or less have what you want. But that cup looks to me as if it's at least half empty. There's no liquid showing at the top. So there is still the journey to come. There is still more to do. So I'm liking that representation very much. We'll take a look at the suits. They're organised a bit differently to the usual way. We've got the suit of stars, the suit of suns, the suit of moons, and the suit of spheres. And they equate to the traditional tarot. Stars equate to the swords, suns equate to the wands, moons are the cups and spheres are the pentacles. So there's that kind of abundance thing that goes with spheres that I've been talking about so much. That's come up again and again recently. So here we've got the stars, here we've got the suns, here we have got, what's that called again? That's the suit of spheres. Oh dear, it's taken me a while to get the hang of this. And the suit of moons here. And the suit of moons, which equates to the suit of cups, is the one I've pulled out to sort of show you some of the different cards and how they're got together. The highest four cards from the suit of moons here, and this is another difference from the tarot as we know it. I was going to say the traditional tarot, but I suspect this is a lot more traditional than the traditional tarot. Tarot, or tarocchio as it were, is something that we know was actually being used around the 15th century. It may go back longer than that, who knows, and I'm sure the idea of using images to predict things and for divination would certainly go back at least to the ancient Egyptians, if not further back than that. So I think the more ancient the better, but what I was thinking about when I was going to say they're different to the traditional tarot, this is a very different way from the way, say, the Rider-Waite tarot that we all know and love. Very different to the way that is titled, but the layout is very similar. We've got number 11 here, and this is the suit of moons, so it goes from 1 to 10, and it is actually, it's not the ace when we get to number 1 of moons or any of the suits here. It is actually the number 1 rather than the ace, so you can take a slightly different inference from that if you'd like to. And you know, what's really important about any deck and the way anybody reads any cards is actually what it means to you. If you're a reader, then it's what it means to the sitter. Those are the you know, those impressions that the cards make on whoever they're being read for are the most important thing, because whatever we might say, whatever we might kind of add into the mix, it's what impression the card actually makes on the sitter when they see that card that's really going to count. So when we get past the number 10 and we come to number 11 here, and normally this would be the page. Here it's the neophyte, which is the, you know, the most basic level of initiation into any kind of magic circle or practice. So that works really well as the page, you know, it's the most junior of the court cards basically. Then we get on to number 12, and this one is the initiate. So this would be the knight, you know, in what I'm laughingly calling the traditional tarot. This would be the knight card, and here we can actually see there are people gathered round, you know, and someone's teaching. So the initiate is a bit above a neophyte, is beginning to be able to teach others and is actually taking instruction as well. And we can see both sides of that coin here in this card. So there is another great level of inference, you know, two different inferences that you could draw from this card if you're looking at it, or that you could point out to someone if you're actually reading this card for them. Then here we've got number 13, the prophetess, and they are numbered right through the court cards, which doesn't usually happen. So number 13, the prophetess, who is really in the place of the queen here, but it's a different way. It's an interesting way of looking at it. Very different deck this, actually, but there she is, a naked figure, showing the potential, I suppose, of the goddess energy, that ability to give birth, and that is such a queenly thing, which I think has been lost a bit, at least in the Rider-Waite tarot, although decks like this coming out are really adding to the magic of the tarot and bringing new ways of looking at things into being, which is great. Now this isn't a brand new deck, by the way. I've only just taken it out of the box for the first time, but it has been around, I think, for a few years. I honestly don't know, but it's a new one on me and very well worth looking into, I think, if you're interested in this, or if you collect decks. Now some people say there's no point collecting decks, you only need one, and it's a kind of part of the big kind of craziness that goes on in the modern age, that you would even want to have more than one deck. And I do understand that, actually. For example, I'm interested in guitars, and when I was sort of young and in my teens up to my 20s, you would have your own guitar, and a lot of people would get together and everyone would have their own guitar, and you'd maybe pass the guitars around and you'd learn about different kinds of guitars and what you could do with them. And then the next time you wanted to get a new guitar, you might get one that you'd experienced through borrowing it from someone else. But most people only had one guitar, you know, and whenever I got a new guitar, I sold the other one in part exchange to pay towards the new one. So I always kept going up a level. But if you watch any of the YouTube videos about guitars these days, they're all telling you to collect them. And the big YouTubers have got about like 30 guitars hanging on the wall, and they're saying collect them. And it's all part of kind of looking inwards. It's introversion. It's really, you know, getting people isolated. So rather than having one guitar and a group of friends, you have a group of guitars, and your friends can just go and boil their heads, really. So I think that's rather a shame. Anyway, I digress. Number 14 here in the king position really is this one, and this one is called the Master, and you can see there is the Pope's hat there, the Hierophant's hat, if you will, and he's holding it out, and I think these are dogs. They look like dogs. They look a bit like sheep as well, but they're making me think of dogs most certainly. So I'm going to call them dogs. That's the impression it's giving to me. And the king, or the master, is holding out the priest's hat to the dogs. So there's that whole thing there of worldly wealth and how it gets involved with, you know, the wisdom of what riches are actually all about, and what they mean, which only really kind of kings, and in other words, very, very rich people, ever really find that out, because it's only when you've got so much money you don't know what to do with it that you actually start understanding what money means and the limitations of it. That's just, you know, my take at the first time I'm looking at this card. It's a new one on me, but he's cloaked in yellow, which happens to be the same yellow as my tablecloth here, so I'm quite pleased it's turned out that way. That's a happy coincidence. And there you are, you know, that is the way this deck is. It's very different, and yet, you know, there's nothing in it which goes against the traditional wisdom of the tarot. And if you're a traditional tarot reader, you're not going to find anything here that really kind of goes against the grain. It doesn't go against the grain, it very much goes with the flow, but it's a whole new view of things and a very interesting deck. So I've had a good shuffle. Now this deck is really good to shuffle, actually. I might as well add this in since it's a review. You'll know if you've been watching for any length of time, I am the world's worst shuffler. I just have really clumsy hands when it comes to shuffling. And in a lot of ways that's no bad thing, because it really randomizes what's come out. But I gave these cards a good sort of wash around on a big table, and pulled them all together again into the deck, cut the deck a few times, shuffled it a few times, and really easy to do that. There's not the problem you often get with cards where there's static electricity on them making them stick together. Anyway, we've got card 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'd like to do a horseshoe spread actually for you. I think that would look better, but I haven't mastered this camera yet and I don't quite know how to do it. Coming soon, watch this space, it's bound to happen. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps the channel no end, and it shows the algorithm that spiritual stuff actually matters, which I think the algorithm is sorely lacking in actually. Card 1. And if you picked card number 1, here it is. It's number 7 from the Major Arcana, so it's an intense one, and it's a great card to actually start a spread with if you picked all 5, because it is the Chariot. And since I'm reviewing the deck, I'm actually going to read out of the book about the meaning of the card, rather than kind of jumping straight into it. But as you can see, there are a lot of very definite pieces of imagery mixed in to the whole sort of ensemble of this card. So there's a lot you could draw for it. It says the essential meaning of this card has always been about movement, a journey or a struggle to gain momentum. It requires the harnessing of both the will and the emotions, without which all actions may be impulsive or dangerous. The heart must rule as well as the head if one is to obtain one's desires. The card asks that the ego is reined in by the emotions, that to simply advance, to go ahead on this chariot journey with warlike intent is as negative as any unthinking action. And that's a true thing. Often this card will appear when the issue is to do with fame and fortune, the search for which has overturned many a man or woman. See YouTube for details. Doesn't say that in the book, I just made that bit up. However, if balance and forethought are brought into play, the outcome may be well aspected. It's very kind of medieval language here, but it goes with the cards so well. If reversed, the pattern is the same, but with a less enviable outcome. There's going to actually be no reversed cards in this spread because I haven't dropped the deck enough times to reverse any yet, but I'm sure we'll see them in time to come, and I'm intending to use this deck a lot. So when the card is upright, as it is, visions. This is the kind of like the keywords, they're calling them visions. So when it's upright, movement, journey, the need for emotional control, conflict, trouble overcome, harnessing emotion and will. And since this is a review, I will say what the reversed meanings are as well. Stasis, a bit like the Hanged Man, failure, defeat, conquest, quarrel, dispute, bad news, and too much ambition. And there's a couplet to go with this card as well. Before the people, blood will be spilled. From the heavens, it will not be far removed. And that's one of the incredible sort of predictions of Nostradamus. That is the way he wrote things, in couplets like that. And that's the couplet for this one, which is number 7 in the Major Arcana. If you picked card 1, this is for you. If you picked all 5, this is where the journey begins. Card 2. Did you pick card number 2, friends? If you did, this is the card you picked. It's the One of Moons. You could say the Ace of Moons, but that is not how this deck rolls. This deck rolls with, it's the One of Moons. And the couplet actually comes first in the description of this one. It says, and this is Nostradamus's prophecy again, it says, people gather to see the newest spectacle, princes and kings with worshipful attendance. And the interpretation is, when translated into the life of the individual, the spirituality and emotional foundation of the Ace of Moons becomes indicative of home life, family, fertility, and generosity of spirit. The person represented here is a fountain of wisdom, good spirit, and love. Fountain of all those things. They love to bring good news, to offer every kind of nourishment to those around them. This is also a card of good omens, suggesting that any new enterprise will flourish. If it was reversed, which it isn't, then it implies change, a sense of loss and sterility, which pushes you back upon yourself and may leave you stuck in the past. And again, since it's a review, we'll look at the visions, in other words, the key words: home, family, feast, nourishment, good cheer, good news, fertility, transcendence, and love. And if it had come up reversed, that would be change, metamorphosis, inconstancy, sterility, and unrequited love. But it didn't come out reversed, it came out the right way up. Card 3. So friends, did you pick card number 3? If you did, this is your card. If you picked all 5, this one is the heart of the matter. This is what it's all about. And we're into the suit of spheres here in a big way. And this card is called the Astrologer. And let me see, 10, 11, 12. This would essentially be the Knight if we were doing it that way. But this deck is calling him the Astrologer, and that's what it's all about. Let's start with the couplet. So great light will grow the astronomical crew that hunted and banished, their books will be censored. Okay, so then to the interpretation, the astrologer of spheres is a good man to have on your side at any time, and of course it can be a woman as well, but especially when you're in a tight spot. His active nature, strength and determination are all qualities which, when placed at your command, can turn a situation around. On a personal level, the card suggests success as a result of perseverance and knowing how to work well with others. You are probably a careful, obliging type who everyone likes to depend on. Reversed, which it isn't, we see a very different character, someone so relaxed as to be perceived as lazy and apathetic. You would rather persuade others to do tasks for you than do them yourself. At the extreme, this can affect not only your own dreams, but those of others. Rather negative if you ask me, but it's not reversed, it's the right way up. I'm just putting that in because it is a review. Visions with this card, upright as it is, an active man, lucrative action, in other words, making good money or making, bringing in good abundance, I suppose is what that means. Also, necessity, obligingness, success from strength of will, determination. And if it was reversed, which it isn't, peacefulness, sleepiness, apathy, inertia, in other words, no movement, stagnation, idleness and discouragement. So there is the heart of the matter if you picked all 5. If you picked card number 3, that's it. Card 4. And if you picked this one, it is the Cardinal of Stars. Well, it's the Cardinal of Stars, whether you picked it or not, actually. It's number 12 again. So this effectively is the knight of this suit, but it's not because it is this suit. And it's the Cardinal of Stars. And the interpretation is that this is a good person to have on your side in a tight spot, yet he can be ruthless and determined and knows no boundaries. His strength is great, but is often accompanied by a wildness and lack of discipline that can make him seem out of control. There is also a sense of innocence about him. These qualities may be present in the issue you are concerned with and apply just as much to your own actions. Don't get too carried away in your eagerness to win. And that's the upright meaning. If the card had come up reversed, just since it's a review, I'll put this in. Reversed, he becomes careless as well as carefree, and this makes him a risky companion. Despite his innate strength, there are times when you need a more restrained character to guide you, or a less aggressive aspect of yourself to rule the situation. Visions that go with this card: bravery, skill, strength, heroic action. If it was reversed, it would be imprudence, conceit and impulsive actions. Much simpler set of visions with this card. And the couplet that goes with this one, from the original writings of Nostradamus: the insane rage of furious strife will cause dining brothers to flash their blades. There you are. Card 5. And if you picked all 5, this is the outcome card. It is the 8 of Suns. So I'll start with the couplet that goes with this card. It says, peace will spread over the peopled earth. There will be travel by sky, earth, sea and wave. And it says in the book, after the struggle comes the respite, the rest in other words, the satisfaction of a job well done, time to rest and reflect. Despite its mercurial associations, this card has always had a sense of going to the countryside for refreshment. Some commentators suggest this is a card of falling in love, and this works well with the idea of taking time out to rest and review the direction of your life. At such times, we have a chance to notice the person who is special to us. Events may move quickly, and the completion of contracts is implied, perhaps in the purchase of a house. If this card was reversed, which it isn't, you may find yourself plagued by disputes, jealousy and a feeling of regret for opportunities lost. Visions with this card: appreciation, completion, luck, rapid developments, agricultural events, recreation, festivities and progress. So it's nothing if it's not earthy, this card. If it had been reversed, excuse me, if it had been reversed, the visions would be quarrels, domestic dispute, jealousy, regrets and scruples. So there is card number 5. And I'll quickly show you this spread, which is specific to the deck. This is, you'd need to get the deck and actually read the book to get the real hang of this. But this is a very interesting spread. As I said at the beginning, Adrienne did this spread for me, and very, very interesting indeed. I haven't often seen a spread like this recommended. It's in the book. It tells you all about it. I think this is a great deck, and if you've enjoyed this video and you're as intrigued as I am by the Lost Tarot of Nostradamus, check it out, look it up, it's there online. It's reduced price on Amazon at the moment. That might not be the case if you're watching in the future, but it's a fantastic deck, well worth looking into, in my humble opinion. And I'm well and truly rich in tarot decks at the moment. There's going to be another review soon of a deck, because it's been Christmas, and someone actually gave me a new deck which I'd never heard of or never seen before. It's called the Cosmic Tarot. She got it from Etsy. Interesting one, and I'll be reviewing that again soon. So if you're enjoying this review, please stay tuned for that one. Hit the subscribe button. You know how it goes. Anyway, I hope that reading meant something to you. I'm sure it would have meant something to you, actually. That's always how it goes. And there you have it. So thanks very much for watching. Really appreciate you guys coming in and taking a look. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps the channel no end. It really does. Thanks so much to everyone who's subscribed already, by the way. Very much appreciated. So if you've enjoyed this one, give me a big fat thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. Leave me a comment, guys. It's always great to share the journey, and it helps me get zeroed into who's watching and who I'm doing these readings for, which it sort of helps our spirit guides. It helps the whole thing. It really does. Okay, so meanwhile, I'll see you again very soon with another video. Take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic time ahead, and love, light, blessings, and peace.